are you? Welcome to the first official Roadshow in Germany. My name is Joe Reynoso. I'm the Director of Sales for the Custom Shop. Next to me, Mr. John Cruz. Do you know who he is? Master Builder Extraordinaire. Next to him, Mr. Mike Lewis, Vice President of the Custom Shop. So before we get started, let me know at all if I'm speaking too fast or if there's something you don't understand, and we'll stop. The way we do these shows, it's like a conversation. It's just we're up here, you're there, but we're all together. So if you have a question, just shout it out, raise your hand, and we'll stop and we'll let you talk. Cool? Right? Conversation. It's not school, we're not preaching, we're just here to have a good time. So what we're going to talk about tonight is what we do in the custom shop, how we do it, why it's so special. Then we're going to teach you how to custom order your own custom shop guitar. Who here has ever custom ordered a guitar? Ah, yeah, professionals. Very nice. Oh, look at that. We will probably want to see it later. But we're going to have a nice conversation with John. We've got some exclusive master design instruments here. Now, one of the things about these instruments that you see on display, they're not available anywhere else in the world, only in Europe. And there's only 20 of each. So if somebody called me from another region and they wanted one, they couldn't. These are exclusive just to you guys. So the Fender Custom Shop, it's this big and beautiful thing that we all love, that we work for, but it started somewhere. And the origins, the roots of the modern day custom shop can be traced all the way back to the original factory. Leo and the team were creating, customizing new instruments for a new generation. Purity of design, Mike. It's not one thing, it's the whole thing.
That's right. Let's talk about the Fender designs for a second. Imagine that you're back in 1950 and you're a guitar player, and all of a sudden you see this thing that comes out called the Broadcaster, and how different it was from everything else that existed at that time. Can you imagine? Think about it for a second, right? People made fun of it, right? They called it a boat paddle. They're not making fun of it now, are they? But here's the thing about these designs. Leo Fender, his way of thinking was to do it his way. He never followed anybody. Okay? He knew that we needed an electric Spanish guitar, meaning played like that, right? So he developed this design that was completely different than everything else. Think about the guitars that he was making before. He made what? The lap steels, right? The lap steels. So you look at the Broadcaster, look at the Telecaster, and you can see the connection, right? You can see how there's a similar design thought going there. So his main goal was to make better tools for musicians. A better tool. And what makes it better, right? First thing is it has to last a long time. We still don't know how long they last. Right? They last forever, right? So far. Easy to repair. Easy to service. That was the goal. Something that was easy to service, that had long life. And the form of the guitars were a result of that. So his thing was that the form would follow the function. Okay, so if you look at the guitar, there's no feature or there's no form that isn't the result of the actual function of the guitar. Does that make sense? Like the balance between the headstock and the neck, the way everything is put together. So the beauty is, that's what I call purity of design. And then poised for customization. I think that was an unintended added benefit. because the way these guitars were designed makes them very customizable. Does that make sense? And that's where we come in. So purity of design. And with Fender, it was never one feature or this feature or that feature. It was the whole design. One complete design from head to toe, right? And then the next guitar, the Stratocaster, it was a completely different design. That was one complete design. So the form changed to serve the function of the new design. Does that make sense? Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. So
Perfect, I like it.
one of the factors of the design too was that Leo did radio repair, and he would run into jams where he couldn't fix things.
Oh, yeah. In the very beginning, he had a radio shop, and the phone number was 6. Okay? You just dial 6. And he had a radio shop, and they would repair radios, and musicians would bring in their guitars and their amplifiers for repair. And Leo would look at these, and he would think, man, this is a piece of junk. I could do so much better than this. So that's how he began to design and have his ideas for pickups and amplifiers and guitars.
All built, easy to fix.
Easy to fix, yeah, because that's what he was doing. He was repairing things.
So, with these new instruments came new sounds, new ideas, new ways to think about things. And I like to say it's kind of like Apple. Before the iPhone, who heard of an app? What's an app? What does that do? Now we depend on apps. They're part of our life, right?
Did you think you could have 1,000 songs in your pocket?
Never. Did you think you could have the library of the world in your pocket? Never. Did Jimi Hendrix think that he could make that sound? Did Leo think that Jimi Hendrix was going to be able to make that sound? No.
I'm pretty sure that was an unintended sound.
So like Apple, the designs created new ideas. They inspired people to think about things differently. And Mike, tell us about how our instruments did that.
Okay, so you have these completely new designs. Different than anything else that had existed previously. So a lot of people were laughing at it, but then just like with Apple and just like with anything else, there's always a group of people that are forward thinking, right? They're looking for the new thing, embracing the new ideas. So amongst all the guitar players of the day, there was a group of guitar players who thought this way, who embraced it. They wanted to try it. They thought it was cool, right? So they get these guitars, and someone like Jimmy Bryant started to play, and all of a sudden he realized there's so many new things I can play that I never played before. How many of you have picked up a guitar, and the guitar itself made you play something new that you never played before? That's when we know we're doing our job. Okay? So that's what happened with the first Fender guitars. These players would play them. They created new music. Music that never existed before. Music that was previously unimagined. Think about the history of the music that happened. All the way up through Jimi Hendrix and stuff. Do you think that Leo Fender imagined that someone would do that with the Stratocaster? I don't think so. So even he didn't know. He just was trying to make something that people could create with, right? So this new music, can you imagine life without that music? It's part of the soundtrack of our life, right? It's embedded in our cultural DNA.
It's who we are.
It's who we are. So, these instruments, they've risen above their function as guitars and basses. The Stratocaster, for example, it has a sound, right? A voice. It's like a violin has a voice, right? You ever look at the book of the history of musical instruments, right? It's a big, thick book.
A lot of instruments.
There's a lot of musical instruments in there that you never heard of. They didn't make it. Why? Why do you think they didn't make it? Because music was not written for them. Right? There was no music written for them. There's music written for a violin. It'll never go out of style. Because as long as people want to play Beethoven, they got to have what? Malmsteen. Chopin. If you want to play Chopin, you got to have what? Piano. Piano will never go out of style. If you want to play Jimi Hendrix, what do you got to have? Stratocaster. So you could list artists and songs and music for Telecaster, Stratocaster, P-bass, J-bass. Very few instruments are actually in that category.
Very cool. I love when he talks about that. It gives me goosebumps because it's the truth. I mean, if you want to play Rolling Stones, you have to play a Tele.
Yeah. Music was written for the instrument.
So as Fender grew and grew and grew, Leo decided to sell it in 1965, and CBS bought it. And like anything, when there's a parent company and a smaller company, sometimes the focus isn't quite there on that smaller company. So in 1985, Bill Schultz was the CEO, was the president.
He was president of Fender,
at Fender.
for CBS.
And he put a team of investors together, and he brought Fender out of that. In 1986, he purchased Fender. And in 1987, what did he do, Mike?
Well, in 1987, Bill Schultz was very aware of the history of Leo Fender and what he did for artists. Because Leo was into artists. He loved artists. He loved music. He was kind of a groupie. Okay? And he was always making instruments for artists, for artists, for artists, for artists.
And they help with the design of those instruments.
That's right, with
This
the
works,
artist
that doesn't
feedback.
work.
So Bill Schultz wanted a way to get back to that. He wanted to get back to the roots of Fender and create a shop that would cater to artists. Bring artists in, let them consult with us, design an instrument just for them so they could do their thing. Leo's ex-wife, or not his ex-wife, but his widow, Phyllis Fender, recently told us that one of the things Leo said was that artists are like angels, and it's our job to give them wings to fly. How cool is that?
Yeah, man.
Right? So that's what Bill Schultz wanted. And in 1987, we started our shop with just a couple of builders. And the original builder that we hired is actually still with us, George Blanda. He was the first guy. And he's the one who built the first Clapton and the Becks and some of the very, very early artist models that we did.
Wow, I didn't know that. That is really cool. So as word got out, the shop was initially intended to give us a vehicle to partner with artists, to help them modify their guitars, to repair things, and as Mike said, to help us learn more about what the current modern artist needs. But word got out, and within 6 months, we had a huge backlog of orders, and we had to expand. We hired more master builders, and turned into the Dream Factory, right?
That's right.
But we're going to get into that in a second, because we had with Andy Mooney. I want you to.
Yeah.
He's done some great things for the
Yeah.
custom
Fast
shop.
forward to about 3 years ago, our new CEO, Andy Mooney. You've heard the term striking gold. We struck gold with Andy. Andy's our current CEO. He's a guitar player. He's very, very good. Plays all kinds of styles. He rips. And he's in a couple of bands. And he totally gets the custom shop and the concept and why we exist, why we do what we do, and has made it possible for us to do more and more and more and to grow. One of the things most specifically was we built this, we remodeled the entire shop to make it more comfortable for you to come visit. And part of that is what we call the design lounge, and it's this room, maybe about half the size of this, where that design guide you have, that book you have, the room is laid out like that book. It's got all the parts, the necks and the bodies and the woods and base models and drawers with all the parts in it and everything like that. So you can go in there and like pick your stuff, and put it together and look at it and listen to things and stuff like that. And we've been trying to get that room for how long?
I mean, at least 10 years.
Yeah, and Andy came in and we said, we need this. He goes, yes, you do.
He just said, do it.
So we did it.
And it's helped us change the way we do things, and it's made what we do a lot more efficient.
Right.
Our Justin Norvell, our executive vice president of Fender brand, he's got a saying. He said it years ago on an event like this in Asia. He said the difference between a gold medal and 5th place in the Olympics, it's thousandths of a second. Everybody out there in the pool is excellent. Everybody out there in the pool is the best. And the things, when you're the best, that you have to continue to keep pushing forward. Because when you stop going forward, what happens? You fall. You go backwards. And what Andy's done with the Design Lounge and other things has helped us to be greater, to be a gold medalist. So the Dream Factory. This is where all our master builders, we keep them in there, chained up, all day, all night. We bring them food and water. No, I'm just kidding.
We don't.
That'd be nice.
We don't bring them food. So, John, when they first told you were going to become a master builder, and you know what this is right here, and you knew that someday you're going to have your own office in there, what did it feel like? Your own stable.
It was amazing. For my hard work, coming up through the ranks, and to finally be appointed to a master builder, it's not easy to do. And you really have to show the people in charge there and to show the world that you want this, like we did. Like any builder that's there has showed these guys, this is what I want to do. I want to create the best guitars in the world for the best company in the world. And to do that, you've got to have experience, you've got to have passion, you've got to have a vision. And I think those guys that work in that building with me right there all have that. We all have that in the custom shop. But the master builders is something special. And I think that's like the pinnacle of the custom shop is the master builder brand guitars.
Yeah, and and Mike and I John is our friend, right?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you're my friend. I paid you earlier. Yeah. I paid you to tell it. But we're all friends. But the fact is, these guys are world-class artists. They really are. And we get to work with them every day. And that's where they work.
You're making me cry now, man.
It's the truth, man.
You got Renoir, Monet, Picasso.
Yeah. So when you first came over, who took you under their wing?
Oh, wow. Let's think back to that. That was 1993. I made it to the custom shop. And it wasn't for a builder spot at all. It was basically to come in for the final area where we were tune testing and assembling guitars and stuff or at the time it was our team built guitars and still is. So I got to do that for quite a while. And it was a different world from working over on the production line where I was at for a few years before that. And I got trained by several people that were there that are no longer with the company anymore. But in that department, the master builder area was like right on the other side of the wall. So I could go over there every day and just walk through there. And I would start talking to the guys and having smokes with them outside, or we'd go to lunch together or something. And and then all of a sudden I would ended up helping them out because they were in a pinch where they needed somebody to help them test some guitars, and they knew that's the guy who wanted to test the guitars. So I already kind of had my foot in the door to help them out. And they didn't call it an apprenticeship at the time, but I was literally helping out all the master builders at some point. And that
learning
really,
from them. Learning from them.
Yeah, learning from them and helping them. And it really opened my eyes to see that that's what I wanted to do eventually. And most of those guys weren't going anywhere. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have to wait my turn, but it's good because I've been here this many years already, and I'll wait my turn. But it was good. It was a good learning experience to work with every one of those guys and learn a little bit of things from John English, Fred Stewart, Jay Black, Art Esparza. All those guys gave me a little bit of something. I would take it home and I would write stuff down. I literally would write stuff down and just study it and remember. And I would practice on my own guitars. Man, he did this to the, and it worked.
So I asked you at our event the other day at the in New York City, at the Music Zoo, what was the biggest, most valuable lesson you learned? And you told a story about something John English taught you about vintage guitars.
Yeah, I miss John so much. He passed away a few years ago. It's like over 10 years now, I think. And he was the guy that really believed in me the most. And he just always put it into my head, like, whatever you do, dude, do your best. Because everything you put in that guitar, someone out there in the world is going to take that guitar apart. And they're going to look at it, and they're going to see how much work these guys really put into this guitar. So I made damn well sure that I was going to put everything I have into each one of these guitars I build. So when somebody opens it up, yeah, you'll see my name scribbled in there because I'm proud of the work that I do in there and the wiring and everything is like perfect in there. That's what I want you guys to see. Some people are afraid to take their guitars apart, but I welcome it. I want you to see the type of work that we do at the shop and the way the guitars play and everything. And that's one of the most important lessons that he taught me. Whatever you do, always do your best work because somebody's watching out there. Yeah. And that stuck with me to this day. And God bless him for that. I really appreciate
Purity of
that.
design, easy to take apart, easy to put back together.
Yeah, man. So, Mike, what's so special about a Fender Custom Shop guitar?
Oh my goodness, that's the question we get all the time.
I've got all day. It's going to take a long time.
Well, there's a lot of people who have never played one, and usually, when people ask me, "Well, what's so special about it? What's different about it? Why should I care about this?" And the first thing I ask them, "Have you ever played one?" "Well, no." "Well, you need to do that. First, play one, and you tell me." Right? But aside from that, the very first thing I would say is, like John just said, he started off in the regular Fender production line. Okay? We only bring in the best and the brightest people from the regular production line or outside into the custom shop. Because what we say is that we're the best. We say that the world's finest or Fender's finest is the world's finest, right? So that means we have to have the absolute best people. And we do. And every one of them, whether it be team build or master build, they are the best at what they do. In the team build area, okay, each person is a master of their own area. They're the best at what they do, whether it be installing frets, sanding, buffing, aging, winding pickups, wiring pickguards, assembly, whatever it is. They're the best at that. And all those guitars go through everybody's hands. Okay? And so here you go. Show some nice handwork of our various people there. One on the next slide. Another thing that makes us special is we have all the original tooling. You know what I mean by tooling? Okay, so if you want to make a metal part, you got to have tooling, right? Stamps and dies and things, big presses and stuff. We have all that original stuff. And what that means is the bridge plate on this Telecaster over here made on the same tool that made the first one in 1950.
Wait a minute.
And you can forensically match it, right? Because there's tooling marks, little marks, right? You look at it, and you look at the old one, it's identical. So what that means is it's not a copy, it's not a reproduction, it's the real thing.
The real vintage Fender.
When somebody else makes it, it's a copy or a reissue, right? And there's mojo built into that. Think of all the guitars that were made with those parts that were made from that tooling. Think of all the music that was written on those guitars and recorded, right?
I mean,
The same tool that stamped out the saddles on the Stratocaster that we made today is the same tool that stamped out the Stratocaster saddles on Jimi Hendrix's guitars. So,
Pickguard press,
pickguard presses,
bridge block,
pickup bobbins, the bobbins,
the jack plates.
jack plates, the jack dish,
I mean-
the covers for the P bass and jazz bass covers that go over the pickups in the bridge.
I think the tuners are the only thing that's different, right?
The only thing we don't make is the tuners and the screws and one or two other things. But sometimes these tools need repair because they wear out. We recently repaired the butterfly string tree and the saddles for the Strat, so they come out nice and crisp again. But we don't replace it, we just repair parts that are worn out. And there's a guy there named John Cherry who has been with the metal shop since the Leo days. He and his father had this shop, right? And there's other workers in the metal shop. There's this one gentleman named Roger who's been there since 1961. He's a material prep guy. He preps all the metal for the stamping. He's been doing the same thing since 1961. And you run into him in the hallway, and he's like, "Hey, you doing?" And it's just great. It's a great spirit. So the mojo, the built-in mojo from the original tooling. All of our wood. We have a guy. His name is Mike Bourne, and his job is to source wood for the entire factory. And so we've given Mike a quality criteria for the custom shop, meaning certain grade of wood. Wood comes in different grades. And the grade has to do with the grain, the evenness of the grain, and the moisture content, and how many pieces are glued together, and how heavy it is, and stuff like that. So we have our own criteria for the custom shop. So the wood comes in, and John, what happens when you guys know that the wood truck is arriving?
It turns into a battlefield for the builders. Some of those turkeys will come in early in the morning while I'm still asleep. They'll come in at 4 o'clock in the morning, and they'll go through the wood pile, and they'll grab the best pieces and take them back to their bench and stick them underneath there. And I get to work, and there's hardly anything left. It's like, shit. So what I've learned in my years are when those guys go home, because they come in so early, they go home before me. As soon as they leave, I go in their area, take a piece out of there.
Hey, where's that body spread? What are you
Don't
talking
know.
about?
But no, it's really great to have Mike Bourne on board with this. He helps us a lot to source out some of the greatest woods in the world, and I think that's really good for custom shop to be able to put these pieces out with some stunning figure and weights and smells, for God's sake, of the wood. It's just amazing, and it's good to have a guy like that on board. And we fight for wood sometimes, but it's all good because there's plenty of wood for us to share, and there's just some guys that get better pieces than others.
Yeah. Mike Bourne tells me that the fastest email times he's ever seen on the planet are after he sends out images of new wood that's come into the master builders. Like bling, bling, bling. They're all laying their claim.
So stay on that slide for a second. So he says bodies and necks are matched from the start. So it's important to remember that in the custom shop, as opposed to a regular factory, okay, because we're not a factory. A factory generally makes the same thing over and over again, right? We'll make a lot of the same thing. In the custom shop, we only build a certain amount of guitars per year. And that divides up into months and days, right? And every one of them is an order. Somebody ordered that guitar. So we only build to order. We never build things and put them on the shelf, okay? The only time we do that is for a show, like a NAMM show or something. Okay, let's build some guitars and put them out. So the regular factory will build a bunch of bodies and a bunch of necks and a bunch of parts and stuff. And when it comes time to assemble the guitar, we'll just take a neck and a body and put it together, right? In the custom shop, since everyone is different, every single one we make every day is different. So the guy gets the piece of paper and says, okay, here's a brand new build. Let's just make up, it's a 56 Strat, let's say. Okay, what kind of neck do they want? Oh, they want a roasted bird's eye neck. And what kind of body do they want? Oh, they want a one-piece ash body for this order. So he goes and he gets these two pieces of wood, introduces them to each other. How you doing? Meet body, meet neck. Weighs them, makes sure they're all nice and matched and everything like that. And then he marks it. They go together, and then one goes to the body mill, one goes to the neck mill, of which we have our own mill. The custom shop mill is completely separate from the regular factory mill. So the body and the neck are joined in the very beginning. You understand what I'm saying? It's not just a random neck or a random body, because everyone's custom, right? Okay, so then we're in the mill, and yeah, we do have some CNC machines that will cut out the rough shapes of the bodies and the necks. But the actual neck shape that you feel in your hand is shaped by hand. Okay, it's not done on a CNC machine. It's sanded by hand. We've got templates. We have like 59 different neck shapes. Plus, we'll do anything else that you want. Right? If you've got your own custom neck shape, you draw us a picture of it. We'll shape your neck like that. Same with the body radiuses and the contours and everything. It's all shaped by hand as opposed to machine. Nothing. It's just that there's a certain mojo that goes into the guitar.
Uniqueness.
It's unique. Plus, we have so many different neck shapes specifically that, and everybody wants it different. I mean, if we made the same shape over and over again, and the dimensions were the same. So it's like, say for example, you want a 57V on your Strat. Well, there's a standard thickness at the 1st fret and the 12th fret for a 57V. But what if you want something different? What if you want the width of the nut to be smaller and the depth at the 1st fret to be shallow and the depth at the 12th fret to be deeper than the standard spec for a 57? Well, you can't program that every time. Everyone's different, right? So what happens is the operator's in there. He's got the rough neck. It's been cut out. And he looks at this. Oh, he wants a different thickness for his headstock. Oh, he wants a different nut width. Oh, he wants a different thickness from the 1st to the 12th fret. Oh, he wants a different radius. So it's all, he has to make each one different. So you can't see that every time. That's why we do it by hand. Yeah. Make sense? Plus, when you get it, you've got something that had people's hands on it, and they're thinking about it and loving it and thinking about their date they're going to have.
You know, that's the biggest thing when I bring a dealer through, or one of our dealer partners or anybody through the custom shop. When they go into the neck mill and the body mill, that's where you see their jaws drop, because it's like the elves at Christmas. It is a precision team. I mean, what they do next time we come out, we'll have video of that team in action.
Hand-wound pickups, too. Okay, so up until 1965, all Fender pickups were hand-wound. Okay, when CBS came in, shortly after that, for some reason, they decided that we were going to go machine-wound. It's probably just to save time. But the difference between hand-wound and machine-wound, when you wind a pickup, right, the bobbin is on the machine and it spins around. And there's a wire that needs to be attached to that. And the machine-wound pickups will hold the wire at a certain tension. And then it'll move side to side to wrap the wire around the bobbin. So you get this really even, consistent every time. Everyone's exactly the same. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some people like that. Some people want that. The hand-wound one, everything's the same except it's held by a person. The wire is held in between the fingers of a person. So the tension of the wire is the person. The moving from side to side is a person. Okay? And there's no way that a person can do it exactly the same every time, right? So you've probably heard the term scatterwound. Okay, well that's a result of slightly different tension, loose and tight, a little bit overlap when you're going side to side. Okay? So that, in combination with the kind of wire, the kind of magnets, and how many times the wire spins around the bobbin, results in the sound you're going to get. So all of our pickups have different specs, right? Different magnets, different types of wire, different number of turns, so on and so forth. Dipped in different materials. Some are wax, some are lacquer, some are shellac. It all depends on what sound we want to get. So about 95% of all the pickups that go into custom shop guitars are hand wound. Now remember, we're build to order. That's what people are ordering, because that's what they want. They want that unique sound, and they're wound in the same way, with the same techniques that Leo Fender taught Abigail in 1955, and Abigail taught Josefina, and Josefina taught all the other ladies that we have winding pickups.
You know, and these guys too, in their spare time, they design pickups. And we've launched a bunch into the line over the last few years. Tomatillo, Ancho Poblano.
The Poblanos, the Tomatillos, the El Diablos, the dual mags. The dual mags are, you got Alnico 2 on the top 3 strings, Alnico 5 on the bottom 3 strings. The Alnico 2s are beveled, the 5s are not. They're wrapped in copper tape to help eliminate electromagnetic interference. So we experiment and do all kinds of different stuff, all based on the old designs, but bringing in new ideas.
So John has a set in his master design guitar that you created.
Those are the,
We're going to demo it a little bit later.
so I wanted to come up with a unique guitar that had a little bit of, I call it balls. When you plug in the guitar, it's like, wow, this has got some serious tone to it. And these are the 2 pickups here. They're called the JC Limited. They're primarily based off of the Texas Special, but a little bit more oomph added to it, and a little bit more mid-punch. And then the neck pickup is great for like soloing and David Gilmour style stuff and bluesy solo type stuff. But and it pairs up really well when you do the full set. The bridge pickup is definitely hotter. So it's a good rock and roll guitar, but it's a pickup, but it's good for every style of music as well.
Cool. We'll do a run through that.
Yeah, yeah.
Once we're done.
So when you order your custom guitar, you could mix and match. You could say, oh, I want a 69 in the neck, I want a 50s in the middle, I want a Texas Special in the bridge. You can order it that way. You got a question, sir?
I can't. Oh, the JC Limiteds have the copper shielding in them. Yes, that's what you were asking, right? Yep. Yeah, that's it.
Detailed fretwork. All of our frets are put in by hand, one at a time, pounded in. Aging. This is something that started in the mid-90s. Should I tell the story of the relic? Do you guys care? You want to hear?
Yeah.
Back in the mid-90s, what year was it? Like 1997, right?
96.
96. I should know, right? In 96, we got a request from a very large rock and roll band that was getting ready to go on tour for some guitars for their tour. And this is the popular story, okay? We made the guitars, they bought the guitars one off, and they were rehearsing. And then a few weeks later, they called back and said, we love the guitars, but they're too new. Can we do something to beat them up or make them look old or something? Because that's what we're used to playing. The light goes off. Ding. Ding. What a cool idea. So we figured out a way to do that for them. And then when the next year came for the NAMM show, and this is 1996, and here I am, I'm like in charge of all Fender guitars at the time, right? And we're at the NAMM show, and we're setting up the whole booth, right? Squier, Fender, amps, everything everywhere. And the custom shop display was pretty small back then, maybe 20 guitars. And the custom shop was famous for bringing their stuff in late, one piece at a time, right? Carrying it in their car, hanging it out the window to let the paint dry, things like And so as we're setting up the show, there's still these two hooks in the middle of the display, empty. The rest is filling up. And literally down to the last minute before the show opened, these two hooks are still empty. And I go to John Page. I say, John, what's the deal? Where are these two guitars? Oh, it's okay. Ralph's bringing them in now. Ralph comes in with these guitars and hangs them up. And it's like an old beat-up Telly and an old beat-up Strat. I go, wow, this is really cool. You brought in old vintage Fenders as a shrine to our heritage. He goes, no, these are new. So here I am in charge of all guitars, and I didn't even know they were doing it. This is how close to the vest they made it, right? And I thought, this is genius. Some people will love it, some people will hate it. Okay, so why would somebody even like it? Why would you love it? Okay, well, why do we like jeans that are already broken in? Big business, right? Distressed jackets, big business, right? And why? It's comfortable. It's already broken in, and it looks cool, right? You're not afraid to you put on a pair of jeans that are already worn in, you're not afraid to go do something. You're not afraid you're going to rip them because they're already ripped, right? Well, you know what? When you pick up a Relic Strat, for example, you're not afraid of it. You're not afraid to play it. You're not afraid to scratch it. You don't play it like this. All of a sudden, you're Pete Townsend, right? You're not afraid. Also, it sounds better. Why does it sound better?
Because there's less finish on it.
Less finish, thinner finish. Okay. Why does it feel better?
Anyone?
Less finish. Yeah, it's already broken in. Okay, so, on the internet and stuff like that, people say, man, how come you do that? Why do you keep making all these relics? Everything we do is build to order. That's what people order. That's what we build. But surprisingly, about 30%, usually I don't talk about numbers and stuff, but about 30% is NOS, N-O-S, new and shiny. So it's a pretty good amount of what we do is not relic.
Yeah, we have a lot of customers come in and they want us to replicate their vintage instrument or be in the spirit of, because they don't want to take out their old instrument anymore to play at a show.
Yeah.
To damage it, to risk it getting stolen.
Or our
And they like the
CEO,
way-
Andy Mooney, right? He had a 55 Strat, and he asked John to replicate it, right?
Yep.
Because he didn't want to take it out and play it. Okay, we got 3 categories of guitars in our shop. The first category is Master Build. We've talked about Master Build a lot already, but let's talk about it some more. This is the pinnacle of what we do. This is the jewel of the crown. There's the hood ornament on your car right there, okay? Matchless skill, limitless imagination, and utter devotion to their craft. The Master Builder is fully 100% responsible for your custom guitar that you order from him.
So when you order a John Cruz guitar, personal attention to detail, what do you do, John? Do you call the customer?
Yes. If it's specified on the order through the dealer that the customer wants contact, I will contact that person. Phone calls are a little bit hard for me to call from here to Germany or from here to New Zealand or wherever. But email is a wonderful tool. And if I can get the clearance to make the phone call, I will do it. But
11 o'clock at night.
yeah. But it's good to have that relationship to build between the builder and you, the customer. Because my motto is I want to make you feel you're a part of the build. And you are a part of the build.
Direct line of communication.
Exactly. Direct line. No middlemen. So any things that we want to hash out back and forth, you have this idea. I'll ask you why you have this idea. It's just dialogue. We're talking back and forth, and I've changed a lot of minds for somebody that had their mindset of having a guitar a certain way. And I'll ask them, why do you want that guitar? They go, well, I don't know. That's just what I want. I'm okay, well, and then I'll start going into things like, well, what kind of music do you play? What style of music do you play?
Who's your favorite guitar player?
Who's your favorite guitar player? What sound are you trying to get?
What kind of amp do you have?
Yeah, amps and all that stuff comes into play as well. And I can usually add suggestions out of my experience of what I think will work for that sound. And I've changed a lot of minds of customers, and they're happy as can be. But I do, if somebody has a specific way they want that guitar built, I'll do it for them. And any of the master builders will do that for them.
Okay, so the second level is what we call custom build. The nickname is team build. You've heard of team build, right? So this is where we have a team of people. There's probably about 60 people. 60, okay, on the team. And we've got people in the mill, body mill, neck mill, paint. People put in frets. People do all the radiusing and everything on the necks, sanding, aging. Now, the master builders will do their own relicing, okay? But for the team build, we have a team of guys that do the relicing. And pickup winders for master build, Josefina winds for master build. And we have another 2 or 3 ladies that do hand winding for the team build. So it's a team of people. And as we said earlier, each one is an expert at their area, okay? The tenure, how long these people have been working in the shop, is extraordinary. Custom Shop is only 30 years old, right? We've got Laura, one of the ladies at the end who does assembly. She just celebrated her 29th year doing that same job. And then other people, 10, 15, 17, 18, 20, 25 years. The guys that shape your necks, 27 years. And they're just in there and they're proud, happy to do each one. And then the third level is not even a level, but the third category is our collection, okay? So why do we have a collection? These are guitars that are conceived in the shop. Things, our ideas, okay? John and I will talk about stuff. I'll steal ideas from him and the other master builders, and they hate it. But we're also developing new ideas all the time, new pickups. We talked about new pickups, new finishes, new wirings, new combinations of woods. And the only way to show you that we have these things is to put them on guitars, right? Create guitars that feature this pickup or this wiring or whatever, and it goes in the collection. And also, some people, they don't really know what they want. You say, what do you want? We'll build anything you want. Well, I don't really know what I want, but I like that. Right? So having a collection of guitars that changes every year, our goal is to surprise and delight you with something that you hadn't thought of or something that you didn't know that you needed or wanted.
Totally. And in addition to the new things that we design, we try to use the most popular, the most requested features of a guitar, right? A certain kind of radius, certain kinds of frets.
So bringing it all together. Joe, bring it all together.
Well, listen, I'm going to go through all these. I don't need to. So here's the deal. You have access to all this stuff, everything that we've told you about. The best and the brightest. The guitars built utilizing original Fender tooling. They're not replicas. It's a real Fender made with the same machines. You know, the best selection of wood that we have. Hand-fretted, hand-formed. I mean, you have people that are working in the Fender Custom Shop that it's not a 9-to-5 job. It's they go home, they do research, they study. They don't get to the custom shop, and like we said earlier, they don't stop moving forward. They continue to push forward and to learn and to give you the best. And we hear the feedback that we hear from the world is that our guitars are getting better and better each and every year. And it's because of the team that we have at the custom shop that is dedicated to constantly improving, being the best. People like Mike coming in and changing the way we do things. People like John, who are always thinking outside of the box. You can't do that. Well, why? Let's do it. And they invent new things. And the spirit of Fender to continue to push forward.
You know, it's not just about specs. You know, it's not specs, not about specs. Anybody can build guitars to a certain spec. Okay? It's like a recipe, right? Same recipe made by a different chef could come out completely different, right? So it's the ingredients, it's the tools that are used to prepare it, the method of cooking, the method of manufacture, whatever you want to call it, the way we do it. Got the original tooling, it all goes into it. It creates this thing that cannot be duplicated outside of that shop.
The hands of love.
Yeah.
So we've got a few people who've ordered a custom shop guitar, but Mike, I've never ordered a custom shop guitar. How do I order a custom shop guitar?
Well, the first thing you need is a dealer like this one. Okay? And you guys are lucky because you have it. We're here. We're in the middle of it right now. That's the key. You got to have somebody that is qualified to work with you to take your custom order. Someone who knows how to do it, knows all the ins and the outs, right?
Someone who has a direct line to the custom shop that can call any of these guys with any questions that you have on the fly. Quick answers. Make it an easy process. Sorry.
Okay, but we've created a tool for you, and you all have one. It's called the Design Guide. And it's really, really simple.
Just a quick note. You can download this design guide on our website. Add it to your
FenderCustomShop.com.
FenderCustomShop.com. Add it to your laptop, your iPad, iPhone. I have it on my phone.
So that's what it looks like, the one you have. Okay, it's really easy. First thing is select your bass model. Okay, do you want a Strat? Do you want a Tele? Do you want a P bass, J bass? Okay, I want a Tele. Which one? Oh, I like the 50s style. Okay, so you pick your bass model, whether you want a 55 Strat or a 60 Strat or a 63 Strat or a 51 No-Caster, 52 Telecaster, whatever your favorite guitar is, you pick, I want my bass model, right? And even if your bass model is not listed here, we can do it. Next thing is pick your aging. Do you want it brand new and shiny? Do I want it just a little bit beat up? Do I want it really beat up? How do I want it? You decide that. And in your book there, it'll explain all these different things. What kind of wood do I want? Do I want alder? Do I want ash? Do I want a maple neck? Do I want quarter sawn maple? Do I want rift sawn maple? Do I want bird's eye maple? Okay, it's all in here. It tells you the differences. What color do I want? Okay, we've got all the classic Fender colors there, and if you don't see it on here, we can still paint it. If you've got a color, if you, wow, like that. I want that color.
Ooh.
That was cool. Who did that?
Excuse me.
Is that random?
It's random.
If you want us to replicate the color of your wife's eyes, just send us a picture that represents that color. We'll
Or send her eyes.
Yeah, send her eyes. Just send us a sample.
So how many of you have seen this design guide before? We just started doing it about 3 years ago. It's one of the single greatest tools for our customers and our dealers.
I think it makes it a little bit organized also that you can pre-fill out the design guide with a general idea of what you're thinking about. So when you come to talk to these guys, you're not sitting there going back and forth and, well, I don't know. You've already got kind of a general idea, and I think that's brilliant to be able to have that in this guide.
Neck shapes, okay? We've got about 59 different neck shapes, and they're not all listed in this book, but these are the most popular. And the way it's described there, it shows you the shape of the neck at the 1st fret and the 12th fret. So you get a visual of what a V looks like, or a Jazzmaster C, or a 1956 V, or whatever it is that you want to. That picture right there, go back one time. There he is shaping the neck. Frets also. Oh, gee, what kind of frets do I want? I don't know the difference. Do you like tall frets? Do you like flat frets? Do you like wide frets? All the different frets are there. Pickups. There's a beautiful picture of Josefina there. Look at her hands holding that wire. I can't even see the wire.
With the mic moving, it looks like her hand is moving.
Yeah. And all the different wiring options that we have. Now, I only have one slide on here. but we've got pages and pages of different wirings and control setups. Then in the back, this is where you can just like use a pencil and just start checking these things off. Pick your base model, pick your neck shape, pick your body wood, and then bring that in here.
All right, so enough of us. Let's talk about Mr. John Cruz. So one of the things our master builders do is they replicate. We have certain artist limited edition guitars that we like to do. We have some that are coming. We have some that have just come out. One of the first ones that I was a part of was the Stevie Ray Vaughan #1 run, and it was also John's first limited run. Tell us about the experience. Like, what is it like to duplicate the guitar? What's top to bottom?
Well, first of all, this guitar was not slated for me to do. This was a guitar that John English was going to build at one point when they were talking to him about it. But at the time, he was in the same situation that I'm in now, where he was just so busy with other things that he couldn't commit the time and the labor time to be able to put together the prototype. So the then custom shop manager, Mike Eldred, came to me and asked me if I wanted to take a stab at it. And I said, of course, I'd love to do it. I did not get to see the guitar the first time on the first run of this. I had to depend on all the photos, all the video, all my knowledge of Stevie's guitar. I had tons of guitar player magazines and web. You know, we didn't have websites going at that time for that, but a lot of just friends that had photographs or you know, VHS videos, and I would study that stuff and learn it and stop it and look at it and so then I had some really good pictures to work with to be able to develop the prototype, which I did, and it was a lot of work because the guitar started out brand new paint finish on. I had to remove the finish through the whole thing. It was not easy to do. It almost killed me. And I had to do it 100 times, so I almost died 100 times. But it was really, really a labor of love to be able to do that because Stevie was one of my favorites. You know, when you get a guitar like that passed and they want you to make it, obviously you want to do your best for it. And my goal was to get it to Jimmy, his brother, and have him look at it and sign off on it, which he did, and he loved it. And he was very emotional about it, which in turn turned me emotional about it and turned everybody in the shop emotional about it because we did something for his brother who's very special to us all, and to honor him with this guitar. So it was really, really cool to be a part of that.
And the rumor is you'd have about 10 guitars out with cigarettes in them.
Yeah, that was fun. We couldn't do it inside the shop because you can't smoke in the shop. So I'd wheel a rack of guitars out into the break area where everybody's out there eating their lunch and everything, and they've never seen us do this kind of stuff. They don't know we're doing that. And I'm out there smoking a cigarette, and all of a sudden I put it on the headstock, and I'm like burning the headstock, and I see a girl over, her eyes are like this. What are you doing? And I'm relicking this guitar. Why? Why are you burning it? It's like, because Stevie smoked Marlboro Reds, 2 to 3 freaking cases a week, and he put them in his headstock and burned them. So every guitar that's going to go out there is going to get that same burn. And in most cases, I tried to use the same cigarette, too, in case any of you guys smell and go, that's not a Marlboro, but it was a Marlboro cigarette. Yeah. What was it again? Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Next, we have the Yngwie.
Oh, my God.
Wonderful.
Yes. Yngwie Malmsteen, one of my very dear friends. And in the early days, I can say this because we're all adults here, but I used to think this guy was an ass clown, is what we called him back in the day, because he was very like rude and shrewd to people, and it's like, but after he knew that I worked for Fender and stuff, he started to be kind of cool to me, and yeah, I'd get a ticket every once in a while, come see him, and we'd hang out, and then the thing came up, Mike came to me and says, we're gonna do the Yngwie Malmsteen. I'm like, yeah, cool, so I was like rubbing my hands together. So we go out to Florida, Miami, Florida, to visit him, and see his guitar. And he had retired the guitar by this time. He was already playing all the other guitars that we made him. And I'll never forget it. His wife just got a brand new Mercedes-Benz convertible. And he came to the airport and picked up me and Mike Eldred. And I sat up in the front with them all nervous and stuff. I was like, man, this is Yngwie Drive. And the guy's dressed in his freaking leathers and chains and everything, just like he would be when he's on stage. He's like that on the street, too, you know? And we take off drive, and we're going through the freeway. He's hauling ass on the freeway, and his hair's like flying back like this. And Mike Eldred was sitting right behind him, and the hair's like slapping him in the face. I was dying. It was hilarious. But just little stories like that are cool to tell, just to let you know that there was an interaction there between us. But we got to go back to his house, take the guitar apart. I measured every single thing that I could measure on it. I listened to him, what he said, and I learned some things from him that I kind of knew already, but he solidified that for me that, you know, the louder the guitar is, man, when you play it acoustically, the better it's going to sound. And I remembered that, and it's true to this day that I think that, especially when I'm choosing my woods and stuff like that. I like to tone tap my stuff and listen to it. And if it's a good ringing guitar and it's not a kind of a dead sound, I'll use that piece of wood. So, anyways, back to the Yngwie thing. It was a complete tear apart of the guitar, taking it all to specs and everything. I went back home and started putting the guitar together, to, you know, to build it and the paint samples. And since I knew he wasn't using the guitar anymore, I conned him into sending me the guitar. He's all, no way, man. You're going to have to come out here and pick it up, and you're going to have to buy that friggin' thing, a chair, to come back home with it. I don't want that thing going underneath the plane. You know what I mean? Because that's his baby. That's the one he came to America with. So I brought the guitar back. I had it in my possession for 4 months, working every day on it, one-to-one. I'd put the prototype here, I'd put his guitar here, and I would do every ding, every cigarette burn, every scratch, every bite mark, everything that you could see on that guitar, I transferred. I even put my own bite marks on the guitar, for God's sake, and that hurt. So I figured out a tool to make it look real after a while.
Nice to your teeth, yeah.
Yeah,
Those are yours.
But so it was a really, really cool thing to be able to get that guitar one-to-one. When I have the opportunity to have a guitar like that for that period of time and come up with a prototype, it's great. And it was in 2008, I believe it was, we finished the guitar, and then we're going to the Music Messe Fair in Frankfurt to show it to him, which he's there and he's going to play a show and everything. And we had this big unveiling thing going on in front of the booth. It was closed off. I'll never forget it. All kinds of paparazzi and photographers and makeup artists for Yngwie. He needed that kind of stuff before he got his picture taken. And we put the two guitars side by side, the prototype and his guitar, right next to each other, and put a black flannel over it. And Mike goes, "Are you ready?" He's like, "Yeah." So he started undoing the guitar and looking at it, and I'm looking at him, just watching him, because he hates everything. That's my mind. He's not going to like it. He's going to hate it. He's going to throw me under the bus and say, "I'll never work with you again." And he's looking at it, and I see him shaking, and he's laughing. And I'm like, "Oh, man, I'm doomed." He opened it up, and he just like laughing, and he did not know for like the first 15 seconds which guitar was which. I fooled him. And he's picking it up, and and he's looking at it, and he's laughing, and the only way he could tell that it was his guitar or my guitar is that when he flipped it over, he saw my name on the back of the headstock, Proto Number 1. And he's like, the first thing I was like, he's like, "How could you get the cracks the same?" And I did, because I did every one of them by hand, the cracks, and it was like identical to his guitar. And he signed off on it that day, and the rest of the time was beer and schnitzels and the show for the rest of the time. It was the most amazing experience working with him.
Custom craft set.
Yes.
Was supposed to be one-off, but some guy sold like 10 of them at the NAMM show. I don't know who he is.
So what's beautiful about getting to build custom one-off guitars is it comes around the NAMM show time, which is in January in Anaheim, California, where we do it. It's our big stage to put the best that we can put out. And every year I like to have something a little bit special, a collaboration, so to speak, with something that I'm inspired by. And I get inspired by stuff every day. I see something new. I'll tell you about something else I'm inspired by right now that I'm going to probably go for next year, but we'll see. But I'm also an avid boater. I have a boat at home that I like to take out on the weekends with my family and stuff. But up in the mountains, the local mountains where I live, there's a lake up there, and they have a boat show every year. And they have like old wooden boats. They come out, really beautiful boats from the 30s and 50s and 70s. And I would go there and take pictures of it, and I really fell in love with the Chris Craft boat line. Do you guys know who Chris Craft is? the wooden boats. They're beautiful boats. Look them up online. It's unreal. So I found one boat that I really wanted to model a guitar after, and I wanted to do kind of a collaboration thing just to pay homage to the Chris Craft line. And this is the design that I came with. That it's like kind of a Telecaster, an Esquire Tele. But if you put the guitar flat on a table and look at it, the body kind of curves like this, like the top of a boat. I wanted to have that aspect in it, and all the binding channels and everything are done by hand. It has metal binding on the outside, like the boat runners on the side of the boat. So there's all kinds of attributes that I put into it, just like the boat, including the case. And I even included a model boat, which was a pain in the ass to build, but I had to build them a few times. And each one came with a model and the guitar and a custom strap. And it's just a little bit of extra things I like to throw into those type of projects. And that was really cool to do that one.
Cool. Very good. Yeah, we did the set with the Cobra golf clubs last year.
Yep.
Golf set. So are you going to tell us about the inspiration?
Oh, can I? Should I?
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
It's not a thing yet.
It's not a thing yet. It's an idea, and I want to run it by you guys. And if you guys are cool with it, just go like this. Or if it's a bad idea, just go. We're staying in Cologne, and probably the most beautiful part of the town that I've seen so far. Within 300 yards of where we're staying is this big, beautiful Cologne cathedral.
Yeah.
It's absolutely one of the most beautiful buildings I've ever seen in my life. I've seen a lot of places, I've been to a lot of places, but that building did something to me. And when we flew in Saturday, or was it?
What day is it today?
Anyways, we flew in. I couldn't sleep. I slept for a few hours, and I got up really early in the morning, and I decided to walk up to the church up there. And I'm glad I did, because I had my parents on my mind a lot. And I wanted just to go see the church and see the inside of it. And as I'm going in, I see this guy come walking out, and it's him. He was in there before me, and he's the same way. And just went in there, he had to see it. He had to get pictures of it. I was in there, I was floored by what I was seeing. The old construction, I was just so into that. That was built what, in the 1200s, 1300s?
Cornerstone was laid, then they...
1248.
Yeah.
I'm going to remember that number.
They're still not finished, right?
Yeah, they're still not finished. So, like I said, from the Chris Craft guitar to the Rack 'em Up Tele guitar to the racing guitars that I've done, I get inspired by things. This monument that's here, it has deeply inspired me. And when I go home from this trip, I'm already going to start working on something. And if it's something that I can put together in time for next year at NAMM, you're probably going to see that. I'm going to dedicate it to you guys, because you guys have a beautiful country, a beautiful city, and I want to give it back to you guys. Hopefully somebody from here will get to buy it too. So we'll see. Yeah, stone. Simulated stone. It'll be too heavy. Yeah, I plan on it. If you guys have any things that I can use to get more information, yeah.
I bought a book.
Yeah. Oh, good.
So the Gary Moore.
Skipped over the golf. It's cool. It's cool. There's one of my friends here today that brought this guitar today. This is my hero of all time guitar players extraordinaire, Mr. Gary Moore, rest in peace. I wanted to do a tribute to him, much like we've done to Clapton, Stevie Ray, Rory Gallagher. It goes on. The list goes. Muddy Waters, Jaco Pastorius. It just goes on forever. But this guy right here is the guy that got me into music fully, and my style of playing, my attitude, all that comes because of seeing this guy opening for Rush, who I went to go see back in 1983, or it was the '84 tour. Rush T-shirt on, plenty of beers in me. Rush, Rush, Rush. I go in there and I see this guy open up the show. I didn't care about Rush after that. I was there to see Gary Moore. And he changed my life. And he was playing that guitar right there. And I told myself, man, I'm changed. So everything I did was Gary Moore, Gary Moore, Gary Moore. I wanted to. And then when I got hired at Fender, when I took the tour for the first time in 1987, we have these big conveyor belts up on top that go through all the bodies drying and stuff, hundreds of them. And I saw about 150 bodies in a row, Fiesta Red. And that's the first thing I thought, that's a Gary Moore guitar right there. Gary Moore, Gary Moore. So it was like in my head. And when I got hired there, because that's when I knew I needed to get in there, I said, someday I want to be able to build a guitar for Gary. Oh, here it is right here. I miss you, baby. This is it. Is Gary's 1961 Stratocaster. Apparently had been painted over. We don't know the full story of it, but my thought is, and I heard stories, maybe you can confirm this, a lot of guitars in the early days were sent back to Arbiter, guitars for refinish. And that's what we're thinking might have possibly happened, because it has another version of Fiesta Red or Dakota Red that was underneath this finish. Because the story is that everybody used to send guitars back to Arbiter. They wanted it to be Hank Marvin. Everybody wanted a Hank Marvin color guitar, and this was really close to his color of his guitar. So that's what the story that I'm sticking to. Of course, we can't ask Gary now because he's gone, but I just wanted to pay homage to him by doing this guitar as close as I could. I got to come out to the UK to visit with the family and his guitar tech at our Fender offices in the UK, and got to take the guitar apart. I was really nervous too, because it was like, there's my hero's guitar. He brought the strap, he brought everything, and I copied everything. I brought a little sprayer to spray the colors on blocks of wood so I can get the color right. So when I went back home to make the prototype, I could get the color as close as I possibly could, and I think I nailed it. And even the wear and everything on the back, the neck had a really weird wear pattern where it still had lots of lacquer on it, but the sides are really, because his hands would just rip the paint off this thing when he played. So everything is exactly the way you see his guitar. That's how I made this guitar. And I also included 2 eras of Gary's straps. Before he died, he was using the strap lock, DiMarzio strap locks, white. But I also wanted to give back to the guy that wanted to be Gary Moore in 1983, like myself, the leather strap with the studs on it. So I included both straps into the case, which I designed a case for it as well with the Gary Moore official logo, you know, that inspired me, and it's all on there. And it's just another way to say thank you for the music and for everything that he did for musicians.
You know, part of this journey, part of John's journey to getting this project done, first of all, it took about 7 years, right, from the initial ask to actually getting it done. But a story he won't tell is once we basically got it approved and we found out what the last changes were, we drove down to Brighton and we visited with Gary at his site, at the grave site where he was resting, and John brought the guitar, and I thought he would just, you know, stand there for a little bit, kind of just say, okay, you know, I did this, great to see you. He was there for at least 45 minutes to an hour having a conversation. I started to record it, then I deleted it. I thought it was funny. He was having, it was a very emotional thing to watch, and John was talking to him. And it's just the passion for the project, the passion for the man, the passion for the music.
Yeah,
came through in the guitar.
I even got to. I had to do it for myself. It was something I could very easily share it on social media, but I won't do it out of respect for the family. But I actually put the guitar right next to his gravestone, next to it, and I took the picture for myself, and it was really special to be able to do that.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to make him cry. And here's another one that's reflects on the same thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, since I was in my Irish roots mode, another idea came to mind for NAMM 2 years ago now, I think it was. When we visited Ireland, my first time there, and we got to walk over the Halfpenny Bridge, which is right there in Dublin. And we can just imagine all the people that walked over that bridge, the millions of people over the years. But one of the famous photos that I saw was U2 when they were first starting out, standing on the edge of the bridge right there. And then later on, I'm searching through YouTube and I find Phil Lynott from Thin Lizzy filmed one of his videos there. So I had to find that exact spot where that piece was broken off, and I think they welded it back on, but where he was at, I wanted to just touch that spot. I was so into that whole thing. And they replaced the boards that went over the bridge with a metal grating now is what it is, and put asphalt over the top of it. So it's very sturdy and strong now, but all the old boards were intact, and they kept all those boards. Somebody had bought those boards up and been sitting on them. So Mike Bourne, our wood guy at Fender, told me, hey, there's a guy in Ireland that's got some of these pieces of wood from the Halfpenny Bridge, and before he could finish, I said, I want it. I want to do it. Give it to me. So we flew over there and got to see the boards. I got to hand pick the boards out that I wanted to do, and I actually made two guitars, a Telecaster and a Stratocaster, with the wood exactly the way as that wood. I didn't want to do anything to it except after we cut it out, I had to age the side to make sure that it matched with the front and the back, the same look. And it wasn't easy to do, but I did it. And it came with all the holes in it. The nails are still in there, the screws, but I had to kind of grind them down a little bit because I don't want you guys to have to go get a tetanus shot by cutting your hands on the thing. So it's buried in there, but you can see it in there. And I was even able to obtain the actual halfpenny bridge coins that it cost a half a penny to cross that bridge back in the day. And I found a couple of them from the 1800s, and that's what's embedded right underneath the bridge of the Stratocaster and the Telecaster to signify that it's the halfpenny guitar. And it was one of my favorite projects ever to work on. Current. This year, 2018, 2004 was the first version of the Stevie Ray Vaughan that came out. I was told, we're never going to do this again, man, so do them good. We'll never hear about it again. 2018, Mike Lewis comes to me and says, hey, we're going to do a Stevie Ray Vaughan again. I'm like, what? But we're going to do a Jimmy Vaughan. We're going to do a Vaughan Brothers set. I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool, but I thought we told everybody that we couldn't do it. You know, the exact same guitar again, and we started thinking about it. It's like, maybe we should do it a few years earlier than what it looked like when he died. So that, like, okay, well, that would probably work because then people won't be getting the same guitar, you know? So I did some research and started looking back, old videos, old magazine articles, which I still had, and looking for the guitar, and I found the one that I wanted to recreate. It's about 15 to 18 years before what it was, the state that it was in when he died. And I copied that guitar, the best that I could do it, as close as I could. And after I matched up with the pictures and everything, it looked pretty damn close.
But what did we get to do that you didn't get to do the first time? We went to Austin.
Yeah. See, like I said, the first time I didn't get to see the Stevie Ray Vaughan. But Mike cordially invited me to go to Austin, meet with Jimmy, to see Jimmy's guitar. And I'm like, yeah, that'll be cool to see it. Guess what? He brought Stevie's guitar as well. So I was just like, oh my God. I finally got to hold the guitar that all I could see was Richard McDonald and Mike Eldred were holding the guitar and filming it and everything. But I got to, and these guys, I didn't tell you this, but him and Jimmy went to lunch for a while Mark Curley and I were taking pictures of the guitar, Jimmy's guitar. And I go, they're gone? Yeah, they left. So I grabbed Stevie's guitar and I plugged it in, started playing it. And the thing was just like unreal. I mean, the action was way off. Hadn't been set up or played for many years, but I can honestly say I played Stevie's guitar. And it was just like something I'll never forget. It just made me feel, now after we started building the guitars, I had a big smile on my face because I got to play Stevie's guitar. So it's just a way of giving back to Stevie, who well-deserved, but Jimmy even more so, well-deserving his own guitar in his own right. And it was really another labor of love to be able to do that guitar.
Okay, master design. So we've explained what these guitars are. We have limited edition runs, like the guitars that we're just talking about. The Stevie Ray Vaughan, we did 100 of them. Some limited edition runs, they last all year long, like the current Eric Clapton Journeyman Relic in black. You can order it anytime during the year. But some limited runs are limited to specific regions or specific stores. These instruments that we're going to demo for you in just a second, there's only 20 of each of them, only available in Europe. And the basic concept behind it is that the master builder designs the instrument, and then he leads our team build crew through the build of the guitar. We have a short video we're going to show you that features all the master builders talking about their creations.
I was basically a musician and a punk kid riding skateboards and BMX bikes.
Oh, I played heavy metal when I was a kid.
My musical influences were kind of as a child of the 80s, so I had Rush, The Police were huge for me.
Mostly metal, you know. I grew up listening to Kiss,
Probably as in the womb, I think I was listening to the Beatles.
Anywhere from Jimi Hendrix to Led Zeppelin to
Thin Lizzy Jailbreak album, that blew my mind. I was completely blown. I had to be Phil Lynott. That was my thing. I was trying to sing like him, dancing like him. I was doing everything I could, but I couldn't get the fro thing going. That was the whole thing. But
I do really enjoy the contrast in color. Black and white, it's like, wow, it's just classic. Look at Vans and Chuck Taylors. Still in style.
To me, when a guy walks on stage with a telly, there's no BS. This guy came to play. The color was very challenging. We had a bad photograph from a vintage guitar that we wanted to capture. It's just kind of its own thing. So, you don't see too many of these. I love the binding. I've always loved the look of binding on a telly. And there's something when you see a guitar and you just want to pick it up and play it, and that's kind of what I was going for.
But I wanted to appeal to our people in Europe. A lot of them love our Relic series guitars that we do, but a lot of them like a little bit more of the bling type of thing. And this one definitely has that. With the finish that I wanted, kind of a nightlight, stars in the sky type of look is what I was after. And I found this finish in one of our color books. If I put a ding in this thing, I'd be upset with myself. And what did I do?
Yeah, I mean, Paisley's really hot right now. It's really cool. It's kind of retro, everybody likes it. We do a ton of them. The pick art's really cool too. It was something we'd never done before, or I'd never heard anybody do it. It's like a piece of clear Lexan, and then we'd shoot some silver sparkle on it, and then we'd shoot a little bit of silver on the back to kind of fill in some of the gaps that the sparkle will leave out. Kind of a cool look, and it kind of gives a little flash, and it's neat. I like the look of it.
I wanted to use a color Fender never used. What I did was there's this great website that has all of the old color charts from automotive companies. I did a search for a 52 and looked through Ford and Chevy and GM and Pontiac and all of these old classic American car companies and came across this great color, Bittersweet. It was a 52 Chevy color used on the Chevy Bel Airs. It's just got a good vibe.
it seems like standard black and white. It is and it isn't. This particular white is called Desert Tan. And the black pickguard is not something that was common on a 50s guitar. So I used the phenolic, which is the material of the day. But I like the contrast. It stands out a little bit. The whole thing about this guitar is it's a guitar that's been monkeyed with.
Stevie Ray Vaughan was a huge influence. I used to always just look at the guitar that he was playing and wish that was mine. I always loved the way that a Strat looks, you know. There was a guitar book called The Guitar Book by Tom Wheeler. He always had the guitars in trees and looking up at them, and I thought they looked so cool. So that was a huge influence, you know. I was definitely in love with just the guitar as a guitar, you know. It's kind of like the perfect art form where there's, you know, metal that meets wood and you can play music on it. That's pretty cool, you know, so.
We're just drawn to these things. We're naturally drawn to music too.
It's the most versatile instrument in the world. You can make it sound like a violin. It can be a brass instrument. It can be percussive. It can do anything.
Regardless of if somebody likes it or hates it, as long as it gathers their attention, they're talking about it.
And hopefully the people out there will dig it as well. And it's going to be a special guitar. We have a very limited amount of these guitars going out. So if you see one or you want one, it's okay to take some money out of your kid's college fund.
This one has an active circuit in it. Paul Waller. There's a center detent in the volume here. So when the volume control is at the center detent, it's basically normal. Turn it up. There's a grease bucket tone control. John Cruz, tell us about yours, buddy.
Let's give it up for these two guys, man. That's unreal. I don't think I can play like that, but I could try. So this is my entry for this guitar. Keep playing. I love the ambience, guys. It sounds great. This is my master design guitar. I wanted to do something a little pretty that kind of shows the night skyline with stars in it. I think I kind of nailed it because you can see the really cool sparkles in it and stuff. It's got a quarter sawn roasted maple neck with some highly figured back on it, and it's got a satin finish on it, so it's a real good finish on there. And it's really comfortable to play. It's a large C, number 18 large C, 875 to 950 at the 12, so it's for the bigger hands, but anybody can play it. The pickups are the JC Limited pickups, neck and mid, and I had a custom hand-wound Josefina broadcaster with a white cap put on top, and so it kind of blends in with the rest of the pickups. It looks like 3 strap pickups, but in a sense, it's not. It's a little bit more. This pickup is controlled, all pickups are controlled with a volume, a master tone in all positions, a 5-way switch, and a blend pot, which you can blend. And I'll play a little bit with these guys. So, in the bridge position, thank you. I'm a little rusty, but you can see what it's doing. You can totally tell that blend. Here's just the bridge pickup alone, and then when you blend in that neck pickup, bridge and neck. Gives you a little bit of a telly type of tone to it. Add a little dirt to it, and then, yeah. Thank you. So that's my guitar, and that's available only in Europe right now. So if you guys want to take a closer look at it when we're all done, I'll clean it up for you because it's going to have a lot of gunk and fingerprints and all that stuff on it. But
Are you on here?
Joe's gonna sing.
I'm gonna sing.
Not only sell guitar, you can sing them too.
I can sing them. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4! She was just 17, you know what I mean. Every way she looked was way beyond compare. So how could I dance with another? Oh, and I saw her standing there. She looked at me, and I could see that before too long I'd fall in love with her. She never danced with another. Oh, and I saw her standing there. Well, my heart went boom, and I crossed that room, and I held her hand in mine. Oh, we danced through the night, and we held each other tight, and before too long I fell in love with her. Now I'll never dance with another. Ooh, and I saw her standing there. Well, my heart went boom when I crossed that room, and I held her hand in mine. Oh, we danced through the night, and we held each other tight, and before too long I fell in love with her. Now I'll never dance with another. Oh, and I saw her standing there. Yes, I saw her standing there. And since I saw her standing there. Thank you very much. John's gonna sing a few for you.
All right. That's enough of that little fun rock and roll stuff. Let's play some rock and roll. This is a song called Going Down.
Metropolis. Thank you. The next little ensemble is a love song written to you guys. This is a song called Walking by Myself, and it goes kind of like this. For my way to go. You know I love you. You know it's true. I give all my love, child. Way more than I do. Yeah. By myself, I hope you understand. I just want to be alone. What more can I do? Yeah! By myself, I hope you understand. I just want to be your loving man. One more time. Yeah, walking by myself, I hope you understand. Come on, like this. I just want to be your loving. I just want to be your loving. I just want to be your loving man. Thank you.